Hello everyone. In the recognition of the United States 250th anniversary, the Sultan Qaboos Cultural Center is proud to open a year of programming highlighting U.S.-Oman friendship and Oman's diplomacy. Our theme today is Oman's foreign policy, often recognized for its steadiness, balance, and constructive engagement. Today, we are pleased to welcome Dr. Tyler Parker, Assistant Professor at Mercer University, whose research examines Gulf foreign policies and how states build partnership and manage regional complexities. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Parker.
It is such a pleasure and a privilege to be here at the Sultan Qaboos Cultural Center, and I'm very eager for our conversation today.
Let's start our interview. From an official diplomacy perspective, how would you describe the core principles that characterize Oman's foreign policy, especially its emphasis on balance, dialogue, and reliable partnerships?
Absolutely. So in the article that I published in the Middle East Journal known as The Power of Partnerships, explaining Oman's independent foreign policy, I think we need to start with that crucial adjective that Oman's foreign policy is independent. So what does that mean exactly? I think that there's a number of pillars and principles that factor into that foreign policy independence. First and foremost, Oman avoids entanglements in external disputes. In its ability to avoid those entanglements, it's then able to mediate and or facilitate third-party talks in a very effective way. Additionally, the pillar of non-interference is foundational to Omani statecraft. Non-interference in the domestic affairs of regional and global states. Furthermore, Oman prioritizes multilateralism and pursues a pragmatic, principled, and tactful and skillful approach toward third-party mediation, especially through its efforts of facilitation of talks.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. Very interesting point. One of the most striking elements is continuity. Oman's diplomacy is often seen as consistent over time. What factors have shaped that consistency, and what has enabled Oman to maintain an independent and distinctive foreign policy?
Absolutely. As we know, Omani foreign policy is researched and renowned for its independence. And I think there's a number of sources that contribute to that continuity spanning over half a century now. I think we very much need to start with His Majesty the late Sultan Qaboos bin Said al-Said, and the way that he formed and fostered a range of international partnerships with states like Iran, each of the states in the Gulf Cooperation Council, with the United States, the United Kingdom, and a range of Eurasian states, small, medium, and large alike. So I think forming those global partnerships, those strategic partnerships, not premised on formal alliances and not beholden to dependence, but very independent, pragmatic partnerships. I think that's a crucial source of that independent foreign policy. I think we can also look to core variables, including, but not limited to, Oman's history, its nation building, its strategic geographic location, its domestic culture, the ways in which Ibadi Islam form the contours of Omani diplomacy, the personal qualities of the late Sultan Qaboos himself, and very much the continuity under His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq al-Said. And each of these factors, and what I argue in the piece, particularly Oman's strategic partnerships, to me those are those core ingredients, if we may, of Oman's renowned, respected, and reliable
Mhm.
independent foreign policy.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Parker. Very interesting
Thank you.
response. Turning to U.S.-Oman relations,
Mhm.
how would you describe the relationship in the past, where it stands today, and where you see it heading in the future?
Yeah, so as we know, the commercial aspects of the partnership were forged very early, as early as 1790, 1791. And over that time, a series of maritime exchanges, political interactions,
Mhm.
security connections
Okay.
have forged the deep and fundamental friendship between the United States of America and the Sultanate of Oman. In particular, Oman has been a very respected, very reliable third-party mediator for the United States, facilitating talks and discussions between the United States and a range of strategic actors in and around the Gulf security complex, in particular Iran. So I would say that the over 230 years of partnership were first forged with those commercial maritime connections, became deeper in the 1800s with more aspects of trade and financing, were crucially central politically and from a security standpoint throughout the 1900s and into the 2000s, has circled back in a lot of ways to those commercial priorities and the political acumen that's been so important for U.S. statecraft in the Middle East.
Thank you. Given the region complexity and ongoing challenges, do you see Oman's role becoming more important?
Bitakid, of course. I think especially when it comes to this crucial aspect of smaller states or middle powers third-party diplomacy. The aspects of shuttling between capitals, hosting talks, forging negotiations in a direct or indirect manner. The way that Oman sits front and center as a credible and reliable facilitator of talks, and increasingly as a mediator of talks. That helps cool tensions, that helps belligerents understand the other side better. And Oman's role as an impartial, independent, and intrinsically intuitive and very knowledgeable third-party diplomat, that role is going to continue to be more important from the political side, from the economic side. Oman sits at the center of the world. That crucial junction between the Arabian Peninsula, the Straits of Hormuz, and the broader Indian Ocean. So in that way, I think Oman can leverage a lot of its political credibility, its commercial connections, and how it's forging its vision 2040 to, again, as I said, sit front and center in a lot of diverse matters of statecraft in the Middle East.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. Very interesting. So you mentioned in your article published in Middle East Journal several elements that shape Oman's foreign policy.
Yeah.
Which of these elements do you consider most essential to Oman's overall approach, and why?
Yeah, so I would have to lean on the first part of the title of the piece, the power of partnerships. So in the piece, I demarcate Oman's foreign policy as independent, and I distinguish that from either an allied, a dependent, or a neutral foreign policy approach. Oman does not forge formal alliances, mutual defense treaty pacts that would enmesh and embed and entrench Oman into costly conflicts.
Yeah.
Furthermore, and to quote His Excellency, the Foreign Minister, from a speech from 2003, Oman is not dependent. It is not pliant and beholden to the expectations of any state larger or wealthier than itself. Now, that aspect of neutrality, I think that Oman functions in a positively neutral way in a lot of instances. But in terms of codified, legally binding neutrality, the sorts of neutrality that we'd see from states like Austria or Switzerland, I don't think we quite reach that legal framework of neutrality. So I would say that Oman is decidedly independent. And I think that the foundation of that are the partnerships with Iran. Of course, a previous government, a previous regime, but with Iran, the United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia, the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, the United Arab Emirates, the United States, Pakistan, that were forged in the 1970s. And those state-to-state partnerships, which the late Sultan Qaboos fostered and developed and deepened, and the ways in which His Majesty Sultan Haytham are continuing. The bilateral partnerships between Oman and states like India, states like the United States, the United Kingdom. I'd say that these are all of those factors that get us to, in social science parlance, the dependent variable, the outcome. I think it's those partnerships that make Oman's foreign policy so intrinsically independent.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Parker. Speaking of the U.S.-Oman relations, could you tell us more about the context of signing the Treaty of Amity and Commerce in 1833 and the Free Trade Agreement in 2006 as well? Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I will completely acknowledge that I'm not a historian. However, I would say that in the 19th century, the United States of America was looking to expand its influence around the world, to expand its knowledge of the world, to deepen commercial partnerships. And it had a very prudent and very knowledgeable partner in Oman that had centuries of seafaring, centuries of maritime connections, rich linkages of commodities, and the ways in which the Sultanate connected all of the East African and South Asian and Arabian Peninsular societies and states for centuries. So I would say the context of the 1830s and 1840s connection very much relates to a nascent United States learning from a country that had been so knowledgeable in maritime affairs. But again, as mentioned, certainly not a historian. When it comes to the Free Trade Agreement, implemented in 2009, initially forwarded in 2006, I think this really speaks to the diversification of the partnership, and that it's not merely a partnership of selling military equipment or basing Anglo-American forces. It is a deep-seated, multifaceted, diversified relationship wherein the Sultanate and the United States can exchange the goods and services in which they both have comparative advantage to mutually benefit the two countries.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Parker. Very interesting. So if you could leave our audience with one key message about Oman foreign policy and why it has sustained a strong relationship with the United States for so long, what would it be?
Yeah, so in kind of theorizing as an international relations scholar, as a political scientist, I keep going back to this concept of reliability. The Sultan of Oman is a very reliable and a very credible partner. The successes of its third-party facilitation and mediation between the United States and a range of state and non-state actors in the Middle East, those successes speak for themselves. I think it's also important for us to realize that reputation and recognition are not always the same thing. And the ways in which Oman often facilitates talks discreetly in terms of back channels, where maybe some of the results of those talks aren't always made immediately clear. I think there's a power to that in terms of that crucial facilitative fulcrum that Oman often contributes when it comes to American diplomatic efforts in the region. I would say that that's my core takeaway, is that Oman is a very reputable, very reliable strategic partner that the United States and its policymakers shouldn't forget and should embrace those areas of common interest and mutual benefit.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Parker. This interview was a pleasure. I truly enjoyed discussing these topics with you. Before we conclude, is there anything you would like to add?
نعم، يعني ممكن باللغة العربية لو سمحت.
نعم، تفضل.
أنا جد سعيد للاستضافة الكريمة من المركز، ويعني كان عندي الفرصة أن أزور سلطنة عمان لمرة الأولى في ديسمبر الماضي، وخلال يعني تجاربي في عاصمة مسقط وفي صلالة وفي مدينة نزوة، يعني قابلت الكثير من العمانيين وتعلمت كثيرا عن يعني دور العماني السياسي الإقليمي والدولي، ويعني أظن أنني عززت وعي وعلمي عن سياسة العمانية الخارجية المستقلة. وبالتأكيد يعني من كل المعلومات من محادثاتي أنا جد سعيد أن أعزز بحثي وأطور يعني ملف كتاباتي عن هذه الدولة المهمة. وأنا جد شاكر للفرصة أن أتكلم معك، وتطلع الفرصة ويعني التنسيق والعلاقة المستمر بين أنا وممكن جامعة ميرسر والمركز بالتأكيد.
طيب. Thank you again, Dr. Parker.